Hey guys, Kenny with UglyTent. Today I'm going to show you how I make a Mora knife sheath. And it turns out like this. And this is something I sell on my website. And these are all handmade by me. And it fits the Mora companion perfectly. I'm going to finish this one off. I'm going to make this one a little different. Instead of having the, let me show you, the snap or the grommets on the back side, so it's glued and it's got the not grommets, rivets. So it's glued and it's got the rivets on the back side, as you can see. Focus, there we go. I'm going to put 2 snaps on there so you can snap this closed, wear it on your belt, or you have the option of the dangler. You can use the dangler on here with it. So one of my buddies said, man, you need to record everything you do, which is a lot. I'm a very busy person. That's why I don't have as many, that's why I haven't uploaded as many videos lately on YouTube, is because I've been actually doing stuff rather than just going out and recording. I do a lot with search and rescue. I do a lot with my little shop here in town. I have a full-time business. I'm a very busy person, but I want to start sharing stuff with you. So I hope you enjoy this leather work, and I'm not giving any secrets away. This pattern is my pattern, one I created for this. There's a lot of patterns out there that look similar to this. I did not copy anybody's patterns, but for the Mora knife, the companion, everybody's doing basically the same thing. So it's not like it's something brand new, although the snap option's something different. So I hope you like that. So what I've done is I've cut the pattern out, and it's just a fold over pattern. You just fold it over. I glue it and then stitch it, hand stitch it. But the first thing you need to do is glue your strap on the back, or for me, what I'm going to do is actually put snaps on here. So I'm going to put 2 snap holes on here for the back side. But before I do that, I need to cut this. See how rough that looks? I need to round that off. And what I have for that is these little cutters. They're cheap, they're inexpensive. So I'm going to take it up as far as I possibly can to keep as much of the thread as I can, and then we'll bang on it. So what I'm going to do, here is I'm going to just assume you know nothing about leatherwork. If you know how to do this, or you may know how to do it better, leave a comment, that's fine. If you know how to do this already, then just sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you know a better way to do it, don't be afraid to tell me. Say, hey man, what are you doing? Because I like to learning every day. And if it makes me better, it's worth it. Yeah, they're not very sharp. I need to probably sharpen that one. Well, that's a heavy leather too. This is, I think this is 8-ounce leather. Now, next thing I want to do, and this is where I see a lot of leather workers, even people who are very well versed in leatherworking, a lot of mistakes, or a lot of places I see them make mistakes, is they don't bevel the edges, make the edges smooth. So I'm going to fold this over and glue it and stitch it. When I do that, I'll redo these edges here. So all I really need to do is basically about right here on up. So this just gives it a finished look and feel. Again, I don't have to make this perfect because I'm going to glue that and stitch it. That gives that side a good look. Same for over here. Now you definitely don't want to bevel these edges where they come together. I'm going to put a welt in there, but if you do that, then this won't line up this won't make a good seam. So what you want to do is just go about halfway up where you know the knife, where it's going to come apart, like right here, where this is. See, that's supposed to be smooth. And then when this comes together, you want it flat. Hope that makes sense. And when I go to burnish this, it'll make it even smoother. But I definitely want to get the rough edges off. Okay, so now it is ready. Now it is ready for to line up these holes and make the snap holes. We'll put some design in it, and then we will glue it to cut a welt and glue it together. I want 2 snaps, but I also want to be able to fit a 2-inch belt through it. So here's my gauge I made. 1.5 inch, 2-inch belt. So if I put 2-inch through it and still snap closed, it'd be good. So I'm probably going to bring this down a little bit. I'm going to find the snaps I'm going to use, which are these. Let's see. Here we go. So I'll need them right here, and then the next one will be right here. So I can bring that down just a little lower. Okay, so now we know that we can put a snap here. And snap here. Alright, let's line them up. Two-inch belt, yep. Looking good. The great thing about leatherwork is it doesn't have to be perfect because it's handmade. You know, if you want to make it perfect or you want to see perfect, then go to like some of these professional leatherworking channels. But what I do is basically leatherworking for the common man. You know, your average person can do this. So let's take a look. Here's the snap we're going to use. Let's just make sure it fits. So there's one. There's 2. Oh yeah, look at that. Just like that, we'll have snaps. Good deal. It's gonna look sharp. I'm gonna create some design on it. So I'm gonna go for this beveling or this grooving right here. See this groove? We're gonna put this groove in here. You see it? And I'm gonna stamp UglyTent on it. See if you see that, yeah. So let's do this, let's wet it down a little bit. Now one of the keys when you wet, so one of the keys to when you wet leather down, you want to wet the entire thing. If you just wet part of it, it might leave like streaks or something when you go to dye it. So I always wet the entire thing using a spray bottle. In my opinion, you don't have to wet the, you don't have to soak it. You don't have to go soak it in water. Just spray a little bit on it, get it damp, and it makes it groove a lot easier. This is a groover, very basic tool. Again, something for beginners. You can buy these pretty cheap. So I'm going to set my depth where I want it, and I'm going to start grooving on it. Now this is tricky, so you want to practice. You want to practice on a piece of scrap leather, because you got to go around all these turns and stuff. So I went through it twice to get a nice deep groove, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Go this way. I'll start up here. Now we're going to put our logo in. This is just an old cheap arbor press. This is my UglyTent stamp. There you go. Okay, while I'm waiting on that to dry so I can stain it, I'm going to cut out the welt. The welt is what goes in between the two pieces of leather, so when the knife goes in, it doesn't cut the stitching. So you can see here, there's 3 layers of leather. Let me zoom in. There's 3 layers of leather. Where are you? Lost my. There we go. You can see here there's 3 layers of leather all glued and stitched together, and see the stitches? That way when you put the knife in, it doesn't cut through the stitches. And this is my template I keep for the welt. So all I have to do basically is trace it. And it doesn't matter, you can use scrap pieces of leather for this, doesn't matter. I'll use an awl to trace it out. And this is just folder cardboard. You know those little folders you get, hanging folders? That's cardboard from one of them. Just makes a nice template. And you see the design right there. Now for some reason, I'm really weird, so I have to cut from the right side. I cannot cut from the left side, I have to cut from the right side. So I always have to aim everything this way. And I would encourage anyone to try leatherwork. It's very rewarding to make your own stuff, and stuff that's going to last a lifetime. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And you can mess it up. Well, you really can't mess it up. It's kind of like Bob Ross, you can have happy accidents. But don't get discouraged, just keep at it. It does take a lot of time though. and use whatever you like best. If you like the cutting wheel, use it. If you like the X-Acto knife, where's that? There it is. Use the X-Acto knife, whatever you find most comfortable. I myself like this, but in my line of work where I do construction, interior construction, I use this all the time. I use the utility knife all the time, so I'm very comfortable with that. Sometimes I will use the cutting wheel. Very rarely do I use the X-Acto knife, but that's just me. Everybody's different. So here it goes right here. Lines up. I may have to take a little bit of that off. We'll dry fit it. Well, that's gonna look good. Perfect. Now if it sticks out, if your welt sticks out a little bit past your two edges, you're gonna sand it down, so that's okay. I mean, you don't want too far, but you don't want it recessed either. You wanna try to get it right on the edge there. And the other thing I always do is I like to skive the edge. And the edge gets skived. There's two ways to do it. This is the Japanese skiver. This is the razor blade skiver. And what I do is just thin this down a little bit. See how it takes that off there? Makes it thinner. And then come on the back side a little bit. So that gives it a nice taper. So when you fold this over, it doesn't give you a big bulge here where the leather wraps around. Just gives it a nice finished look. So we can glue this together. And what I usually do is just put my welt on here where I want it after it's been skived, and then just take a pencil and just draw where it's going to be. And the reason you do that is to get a good idea of where you want your glue. Because another mistake someone new to this might make is they might overglue it and you get glue all inside your sheath. So when you put your knife in there, it gets stuck on the glue, or your knife comes out with a bunch of junk on it. Barge cement is the best. Oh yeah. So you take your X-Acto knife, and you got a smooth side of leather, and you got a rough side. The rough side will stick. Smooth will not stick as well with the cement, the glue. So you just rough it up like this. Now that we've taken all the shiny material off, all the shine off the leather, now we can put the cement on there. I'm just going to do the one side. Reminds me of being a kid and putting together models, if you ever did any of that. Alright. Now I'm going to let that dry to where it is tacky. It becomes tacky. Once it becomes tacky, then you can apply it to each other and hammer it down. So now we just wait. Okay, now that this has got to be tacky, see, it's not wet, it's just tacky. That's what you want. And you put them together. Get some room here. Once you put these on, it's not going anywhere, so make sure you like where it's at. Let me make sure that it's pretty much where you want it. Because once you do this, she ain't coming apart. It's stuck on there for good. Now, a lot of times what will happen is you'll have too much on your welt. It's easy to do. You just take your knife, cut a little bit of it off until you get down to the other layer of leather, and it just peels off. A little small section will peel off pretty easy. So, we're ready to dye this thing, make it look pretty. So let's put a layer of dye on it. See, it's still a little damp. I'm gonna let that dry just a little bit more. Now I like using, this is mahogany stain. You see that? It's very pretty. It's kind of a old school looking stain. What I like to use is the Skiving's medium brown vintage gel. Now what you want to do with this is you gotta act quick. So you get everything ready and you get you a paper towel or something to wipe it clean, because if you drop a dot on it and then put more on it, what's going to happen is that dot will show up over all the other stain. So you pour it on, go over it real fast. It gets in the grooves and any niches, any scratches, it shows through, gives it that antique look. But you gotta act pretty quick with it. I'm gonna show you. Put a lot on there. You're gonna wipe it off. Get down in all those grooves. And I probably used too much because I'm trying to demonstrate it on a video. But once you get all that in there, then you're gonna wipe it clean. Yeah, I used way too much. I always do the front side first and then get the back side afterwards, if this dries a little bit. Okay, now that the dye is dry enough to work with and not get out, well, get a little on you. We're going to go ahead and glue this side, glue the welt together. Oh wait, before I do that I get the snaps on. So let's get the snaps on. Yeah, you want to set these before you do all the other stuff, because once you glue it on there, it's going to be hard to get apart. Got a little baby anvil. Oh, cute. Alright. Here's your setter. Put the snap on there. Good. Now, I'll line up these two holes, make sure they look good. And if you noticed, let's get a little bit of dye on it. Oh yeah. Okay, let's try lining these up again. Oh yeah. Can you see? Let's see if you can see. See how the holes line up? There we go. You can see the holes line up. So you know you're good. Then you put your buttons, your pretty buttons on the other side. I guess this isn't pretty, I'm just saying the finished side. put your other side of your snaps on there. Put that in the setter. Okay, test it out. It seems like that first time you go to snap it, it's always hard to snap. She is good and tight. That's what you want. Now that we got those set, put everything back. Let's glue it. So I roughed up this side. I'm gonna mark it where I want it. Once you fold it over, again, I'm going to get a good idea of where I want the glue, because I don't want it all over everything. Let that dry till it's tacky and pound it together. Alright. So we've allowed it to dry. It's just tacky. I'm going to try to make this look as good as possible. Match this up really well. You gotta be careful though, because you don't want to twist the actual sheath or the case itself. You want it to line up but look good without being twisted. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, looks good. There you go. That looks fantastic. The beauty of this design is that it can be worn as a belt knife, or it can be worn as a dangler. Looks pretty sharp though. Now, we must get this clean up the edges, and then we will mark it and stitch it, and it'll be done. There, that looks a lot better. Fantastic. That's going to look awesome when that gets burnished. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is take now you can use these punches to actually make the hole for your stitch. But I'm going to use a Dremel press because it just does it cleaner for me. It does a better job. I probably should mark where I want them. This is a wing divider. Again, these are all inexpensive items. So you mark where you want your stitches. Okay, tighten that up. Go on the outside of it. And a little bit more. That gives you a nice even placement of your stitches. And what I'll do is I'll come through here and I'll just mark them where I want them. So you could punch all the way through like that. See how it goes all the way through. But I like, okay, so there's the hole it leaves. I like the Dremel press way better for me. We're going to continue marking these. And so as we turn the corner, we're going to 2 prongs. That'll even keep the curvature. And by punching these beforehand, pre-punching them, when your Dremel press, the bit, when you're using the Dremel press, the bit goes in the hole and lines up better. The problem you have is that on the back side, you got to be real careful not to go one way or the other too far. Like you don't want to go too far this way on this edge or too far down here. You want to try to keep it even. So I know I said this was common man's leatherworking. This little press is only like 30 bucks. The Dremel is a knockoff. It's a true value. So it was, I can't remember how much this was, but it's like $30 or $40. So, I mean, I've got 70 bucks in the press. The Arbor press I bought was used, you know, like 20 bucks. This is a Harbor Freight sander. I can't remember how much it was, but it was, I want to say it was 40 bucks, somewhere around there. So the stuff's not expensive. This is what the common man uses. This isn't like some of these big leatherworking places where the big leatherworking, there's a lot of YouTubers that do leatherwork and they do amazing stuff, but their shop has, you know, tens of thousands of dollars worth of tools. And I don't know about you guys, but I just can't afford that. So we're going to stick with what we got and keep making quality work without the high dollar stuff. I'm going to look through my stitches, make sure they're all, or my holes, make sure they're all ready for stitches. Looks pretty good. Now let's grab some thread. Let's see what we got on this. Let's go with looks good. So another little trick I want to share with you is to find the amount of thread you need. Go around your project 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, you will have some left over, but it's better to have a little more than less than you needed, because I've had that happen and it's a pain in the butt. Now what I'm doing here is just, my thread is already waxed, so I got a waxing on it, but I'm running a little bit of fresh wax over top of it just to make it easier to stitch. I'm going to take one of my needles, run it through. Here's another little trick. Run it through the, you can see this. After you get it in here, can you see it? You're going to run it through the end, just right in the middle of the thread. I can get it. Like that. See how I did that? Pull it through over top of itself. It makes a loop. Now you do the other side the same way for the saddle stitch. Focus. So I like to start at the end and get them even. Okay. Then on the front side, I run it through. Make sure I'm still fairly even. Okay. Then I take this one from the back side, run it through the top. Give her a tug, and that's where you start. Make sure everything's together. If you need to, put a clamp here to hold that in together, and continue. If you do your stitches the same way every time, like if you run it through this one side first and then over top on the second side, they'll all look very uniform and your stitch placement will look really good. Now see here, I was watching the camera, and when I did, here we go. Here we go. It's looking good. It's going to hold it together and look good. That's what we want. This is another contraption. It's called a stitch pony. I just sat on it. And this is something that's probably, I got off Amazon. I was thinking it was like $20-some. Wasn't expensive. Open it up. I put the leather on here. It's just wood. I put leather on it and clamp it down. And now you can do this a lot easier. And there's a lot of these people that are really skilled at this. I am not that skilled at. I can't do the whole, hold each needle in one hand and then switch it over. I have to actually let go, which is just, I haven't got the experience yet, I guess, to do it the other way. So when you burnish something, see that hair? I'll clip it off. When you burnish the leather, what it does, it takes the hairs, their fibers, it lays them down, makes it real smooth. So we are on our last stitch. What I'm going to do, it's very simple. So I wrapped it back through with just one time. This doesn't have to be some kind of fancy knot or anything like that. All you have to do is just, if these are, as long as it's not cotton thread, if it's a synthetic thread, then you can see where you're at. If it's a synthetic thread, then all you have to do is take your lighter to it, get it hot to melt, and then wipe it down. And that will secure it. Good enough. Let me widen this out a bit. There you go. That's all you have to do. Makes it nice and neat. See, look at your thread, how nice and neat and clean that looks. Looks good. Now we're going to coat the edge and burnish everything. Touch up the inside where it's not completely dyed. And this thing will be ready. Alright, we got some gum trag. This just helps with the burnishing. It's a burnishing agent. And I usually just get a little on my finger, grab it on here, get all your edges. It just helps smooth them out. It smells good too. I like the way it smells. So we're going to do all the edges. There you go. I'm just going to wipe off the excess. Alright, now to get this burnished, take a burnishing tool. Again, this is just a cheapie off Amazon, very inexpensive. Now, how do you know when something's burnished? There we go. How do you know when something's burnished? Because you'll hear it click. So you start rubbing it. Get this out so you can hear it. You keep rubbing it until you hear it start clicking. You can use both ends. Just go all over it. Get it nice and smooth. You're smoothing out those edges, and you're also, what you're doing is laying down those fibers so it looks nice and finished. See how pretty that is? That is awesome looking. I say pretty, I don't know what else to use. Handsome, good looking. I don't know what you call it. Here, you hear the click? Listen. There's the click. That's the click you want. That's how you know it's getting good and burnished. Just go over all of it. Just the parts you want to look good, right? Which is all of it. And keep going over your edge. Yeah, hear it clicking. You're gonna get a nice finished edge. So occasionally you'll get a spot like that, right there, that the glue doesn't allow this stain to fill in, but that happens. I mean, it's handmade, custom made. You can put, which we might do that. I might show you. There's another thing called an edge coating. We'll put an edge coating over that and let you see what it looks like. So I'm going to go and show you another step. This is the edge paint. It's dark brown. I don't use it very often, but since we're showing secrets and tips and stuff, I might as well show you this. Okay. What I like to do is just get a craft brush and dip it in there. Get your brush coated good. Let that dry. So here is the finished product, another complete project. Looks good. See your edge coating on the seam there. Got your dangler. I'll have to show the dangler in another video. There's nothing to it, it's just a strap with the 2 buttons on it. And then of course I did the groover around the edges to give it the design. Looks pretty awesome though, I'm really happy with that. Got your snaps on the back. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this sparked your interest in leatherworking and made you realize that, hey, I don't need thousands of dollars in leatherworking tools or a shop to get going. So you can do it all by hand, or you can use the machines to help you out, but you can do it on the cheap. You know, this is, like I said, this is common man leatherworking. This isn't some big shop that mass produces belts, wallets, holsters, whatever. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.